We interrupt your regularly scheduled program for this special report.
Oh, you didn't know? Your ass better call somebody! Awesome! You people bought a ticket to see me, so shut up!
Yeah. Sometimes I get so mad, there's no control.
Ladies and gentlemen, just in case you live under a rock,
I might
you
grab
are
a
looking
bat, I
at the
don't know, my
youngest
rap, my
and
blood
fastest
boils
rising
over
star
like,
in
oh God, here goes. I lost all feeling from my head to my toes. You said some shit that I can't let go, so just stay tuned for the rest of the show. So have you ever felt betrayed? Switches how you see things, realize something needs change. Cause I know you got me fucked up, let me show you what's up. Cause enough is enough. I'll take a face full of pavement just to make a statement. I know there's no turning back. Oh God, adrenaline wasted, so mad I can taste it. I know there's no turning back. I'll do what it takes, I ain't making mistakes like that. I'll bleed on your face just to make you go take it back. I'll lose my shit, I go crazy when I'm mad. And now you gon' wish you was such a fucked up real bad. Shut up. Be the villain! And I have no problem at all, because I couldn't care less if you like me or not. I'm here for success, and there's no one more successful than Grayson Waller.
Yeah! Let me talk to you! War game.
What's up, everyone? Get into the ring and discuss this week's hottest wrestling action all across the company here on the Sports Jedi Network, Heel of the Ring podcast. Yes, we are ready to go on a journey. We're going to review the week of wrestling. But first and foremost, let me say hello. My partner here, Mr. Chris DGH. Chris, salute to you. What's going on, Chris? How you?
Salute to you, Kev. Salute to everybody here. Sports Jedi Network, Heel of the Ring podcast. We're going to be talking about the hottest stuff and going on in this week's wrestling world. I'm excited to talk about it. It's going to be a great discussion. Been busy with the watch-alongs. I think this is a great time, get some opinions, get some other perspectives on just things that we've been seeing online and, catch up. So I'm really excited to be here with everybody here tonight. Thank you guys for watching. I'm excited.
That's right. Enjoy it and let's join the conversation. Don't be left out. We want to hear from you all across the different platforms. We are in multi-destinations and multi-platforms, simulcasting, streaming all across. So we want to hear from you. Don't just be a participant. Don't be a spectator. I killed it. And be a participant in the chat. So participate in the chat. Join us. Participate. We want to hear from you. Let's hear your thoughts. Let's start with Monday. Let's go right to Monday as we're going to unpack the timeline. It's Monday Night Raw, where the wrestling's worst kept secret finally made its debut against one of them, Chad Gable. We have Cero Miedo Penta Oscura. Cero Miedo Penta comes out. What's your thoughts on that one there? Your presentation from top to bottom.
Amazing presentation. They made WWE made Penta look like a star on his first night. He made Penta look like a star on their first night. No, it's great. I know a lot of people talked about why did they upload his merch hours before the show started, because how many people you saw people. I thought it was going to take them a week to sell out those masks. There was people wearing them that night. So it was a great move from WWE. I think Chad Gable, and I don't know about you, Kev, I think Chad Gable was the perfect person to have this first match against. Chad Gable's going to have a phenomenal year. This has been his job all of 2024, right? Putting over these guys, and his time will come, and he made Penta look like $1 million. I thought Penta sold great because, when he's in the ring with Chad, I think, you're going to make sure he did look a little nervous. He did look un poquito miedo, you know what I'm saying? As he likes to say, but he did look a little scared. But that Mexican Destroyer was great. Chad sold the hell out of it. I'm excited for the dream matches to come, right? Penta versus Ray, Penta versus Dom, Penta versus Gunther. So I'm excited. I would give that segment, like that whole match, an A. I didn't think there was nothing bad about it. Obviously, we knew what it was coming. The commentary was good about it. He looked like $1 million. I'm excited to see what Penta's first feud, first pay-per-view match going forward is going to be.
Yeah, and I love the fact the promo in the back. He had the promo. It cut in the ring, cut the promo in the ring with his family, acknowledged his family. Everyone, his daughters were there, and heartfelt moment. The era of Penta. You know, we know it's a new era of wrestling, but it's the era of Penta. So I love that. I love that. Like you said, made him feel the red carpet was more than extended here for Penta. And that's just the tip of the iceberg in the wrestling world. You know, Monday Night Raw. We're not gonna stay too long on certain things because we want to make sure you guys get your thoughts and your opinions and you're enjoying the conversation. And we have a whole lot across all wrestling companies to cover. So we're gonna go a little bit, not too much rapid fire, but we want to make sure we don't want to stay too long in the tooth on one subject. I love his presentation, but what really came out of Monday Night Raw that caught me was the inaugural Women's Intercontinental Champion. They crowned their first inaugural Intercontinental Champion. You had a great match between Lyra Valkyria and Dakota Kai. To a lot of different opinions with the wrestling community, the IWC, on who should have won the Intercontinental title and who should have not. To me, the match was, and I'm not going to take away from the in-ring that both Dakota and Lyra brought out and of each other. They brought the best out of that. I to be honest with you, one of the, at least on the main roster, one of Dakota Kai's one of the best singles wrestling match was on Monday night for that tournament for trying to win that inaugural Intercontinental Championship. She gave it all. Without going over, she went over for Dakota in her in-ring. And Lyra, I mean, what continued for me, I said it when I cut that clip and we watched along, for me to watch her coming over from NXT UK and making her wrestling debut in NXT, from Level Up to NXT, and then coming to the main roster, seeing her, that maturation of growth, seeing her as an NXT World Champion, now the inaugural Intercontinental Champion, seeing history, her name in the history books of wrestling, it was a privilege and honor and a blessing to see her career myself, in person, live, and great job, Lyra. What was your thoughts on that whole segment with the Women's Intercontinental?
I mean, it's history being made. You can't take away from history being made here. We're crowning the very first ever Women's Intercontinental Champion. So, regardless of the results, I'm happy for, I'm not the biggest fan of women's wrestling, but this is really getting me into it now again because they're getting more opportunities, and this was just great for both women. I can see why they gave it to Lyra. She's the future. I'm not saying Dakota Kai isn't, because she will have that belt in the future. But I think Lyra was a good person to start this new history, this new championship run. They put her on the main roster. They call her up. They haven't done much with her. I think she really needed this a little bit more than Dakota Kai did. I wanted Dakota Kai, but again, I think I said this before the Raw started, when we were talking before. I said Lyra needs this, and I think it's going to elevate her. We're going to see her talking. She's probably going to cut a promo. We haven't seen that in a while, and now she has some gold on her. So it's going to be really interesting to see what she has to say first off, and who's going to be next to challenge. Is she going to have a rematch with Dakota? That's kind of where I'm at right now with it. You can't take it, like you said, you can't take away from the in-ring match because it was great. Lyra delivered some great suplexes. Dakota Kai had a new entrance. It was good presentation for both women. I'm not, result isn't what I wanted, but it was the right result in my opinion.
Okay. And Lyra had what a year. I kind of want to not push back, but just elaborate that Lyra had a real good run on the main roster so far. Being runner-up at the Queen of the Ring tournament is not nothing too shabby. We've seen a lot of ladies get lost in the shuffle. You know, Donna James, we haven't seen. You know, we could throw a lot of names out there. Indy Hartwell came up as the NXT Women's Champion, and now she's not with their company either. So for Lyra Valkyria, I thought they showcased her. Good for her to win that title. I could still see Dakota Kai returning a program. The same way Meacham is still in that important in that United States, and we'll get to her when we get to the SmackDown portion. But I believe we have a comment in the ring. What's going on? Who would like to see in the Women's Royal Rumble this year? Tony, what's going on, Tony? We are going to get to the Royal Rumble because that's why we're gonna go a little rapid fire through until we get to Friday, because we want to talk Royal Rumble. We want to talk Saturday night's main event, and we also want to talk Genesis. By the way, we're going to say this throughout the whole program again here. Tomorrow night, we are going to stream Genesis. But you'll be able to watch it. You'll be able to see it. You'll be able to look at it, comment with us, react with us, but only on the playback. Only on the playback. You gotta get the link. The link is in the chat. Is in the description in the video here on YouTube. That you could, or our next. You can follow us on next. Get the description. You go in. You don't have to pay anything. You don't have to. We all ask is become a member of the channel. It's a subscription. Just follow us, a member, join, whatever. It's totally free, no cost. Enjoy the wrestling with us. We want to hear from you, so you'll be able to watch Genesis pay-per-view with us at the playback. We want to grow that platform, and of course, because we can't do that here on YouTube, they won't let us. So we got to go elsewhere. It means where we want to evolve and take the evolution of a watch-along elsewhere. It's okay. Again, if you like watching women just stare at a computer and tell you what's going on wrestling, that's no problem. When you want to see a little funny looking redhead guy make some faces, you could watch him too. That's no problem with that. Or you want to see that fake over the top enthusiastic, ribbing you, that like it's supposed to be a wow moment. That's different folks for different strokes. But come watch the show with us and watch us goofballs watching it. But you're actually gonna see it. So that's why we'll say come and join us. We want to definitely want to see you there tonight. So here's a little thing. We're gonna wrap up a little bit of Monday Night Raw because I want to get into NXT. One of the matches, number one contender now, Sheamus comes out beating Ludwig Kaiser in a really good back and forth match on that one. I'm just gonna read through a couple of stuff there, and then we'll comment real quick on those because I definitely want to get into NXT. Damian Priest, Finn Balor, that street fight. Holy cow, that was a hell of a street fight with the stretcher moment and Damian Priest going on top. Finn Balor doing a phenomenal job there with that, and hopefully that feud comes to an end. All in all, those matches that we mentioned there, also Karrion Kross kind of teased us that Wyatt Six is move over to SmackDown. Sami Zayn had a match with Miz. You see there's a storyline with Karrion Kross and the Miz. He's trying to use them as a pawn in the game of chess. All in all, what's your thoughts on Monday Night Raw before we get into NXT? Any of those matches that we mentioned, what was the one thing that you want to elaborate or you want to touch upon and give your thought before we get into NXT?
I thought Monday Night Raw was great. It was a really good second show for Netflix. Now we're going to get into the rhythm of our weekly programs. And what I mean by that is I was listening to my favorite podcaster for wrestling. Shout out to Chris Van Fleet. I was listening to his Ask CVV. He does a podcast every Friday where he just talks about his own opinions. And he said something that really stood out to me about Monday Night Raw. He said something on the lines of last week, the Raw debut Netflix. That wasn't for us. That was for the world to see, WWE like, hey, we're here. This is who we have. Come watch us. Now, last week, this was just, okay, now they're getting back into the rhythm of catering to us, the wrestling fans, the people who annualize it, who make content about it. Now they're getting back into that rhythm. So I think it'd be really good. But this was a great second episode for Netflix. I mean, the main event, I'll just talk about that quick before we go to NXT. It was a fun match. It was a lot of weapons. I'm not too big on a lot of weapons, but I thought it was necessary here. I mean, these two guys have not real animosity, but these from going from best friends to screwing each other from title opportunities. Like this needed that. It was a good showing from both guys. Finn is at a certain spot on the card where he puts on these phenomenal matches and just he doesn't get, he loses and then doesn't get anything forward. I want Finn Balor to get, you know, some rhythm, some wins under his belt. And I think that starts with moving on from this feud. But great match. The fans seemed to like it. I liked it. I think that was, besides the, you know, welcoming Penta and crowning, you know, some history with the women's IC title, that was probably my favorite part of the night. And I know we had Punk and Rollins, but I really enjoyed that match.
Yeah, I was gonna say that because I wanted to get into what Tony mentioned.
Yeah, that's all I got from Monday Night Raw.
And that's why I kind of pushed it off a bit aside. I wasn't trying to sweep it under the rug because I wanted to go with Rumble. And he mentioned the men and women Rumble this year, but as we see, you know, it's kind of teasing a kind of a triple threat or watch your back at the Royal Rumble when it comes to Drew McIntyre, Seth Rollins, CM Punk. There's no, all three of those guys in a triangle, they all can't stand each other. You know, for a right, wrong, or difference. They all had their history with one another and the dislike, and of course, and they kind of setting the stage for the Rumble. If I see the Rumble, I'm gunning for you. You ain't winning. I'm doing whatever it takes, even if it costs me the Rumble. You're not winning. You're not pointing at that sign, that invisible sign that Punk pointed when he came out. And that was a great promo. And right now, we, you know, as the weeks go by, we're gonna, or the days go by this week, we're know more and more people keep entering the Rumble. And it's gonna, you know, we're gonna get into who could be a favorite, like, you know, Tony asked, who do we see winning and who like a favorite, because it's getting a heavy hitter, and the Rumble takes a turn in the middle of the week, in my opinion, as we get into NXT. Before we get into, you know, once we get into NXT, we're gonna hear from the new crowned NXT World Champion Obafemi. Obafemi gets in the middle of the ring. That's a promo. Out comes the one man that defeated him from the North American champion, the Don of NXT, Tony D'Angelo. Now Rich Hollins comes up. Eddie Thorpe hits from behind. So they're telling us different. They touched on 3 different or 4 different storylines right there, because they also mentioned Trick Williams all in one segment, Chris, to open up on just on a basic promo. Yeah, it ended in physicality at the end of it, but it also touched all the different things. Rich, you know, he attacked Tony D'Angelo as Santa Claus a couple weeks ago, and in Lowell, Massachusetts. Also, you know, you also see Obafemi, what hasn't been done yet with Eddie Thorpe. Also, who's the number 1 contender? All that good stuff. I love the way NXT gets a little variety, gets you invested, and keeps storyline progressing with just a couple segments. I mean, we even seen that in that backstage, you know, later on in the show when, you know, we see first Stephanie McClure versus Shotzi in the number 1 contenders match for that women's North American title. And to my surprise, to see Shotzi get the victory, not because she can wrestle, because with all the red carpet pomp and circumstances they brought Stephanie McClure in, I thought that, you know, it kind of felt like a shoo-in that she was going to be that number 1 contender, and that title was going to gravitate to her. But I love the swerve or the ride they took us away from getting Shotzi the opportunity, where you have Fatal Influence come in and cause that distraction and so forth, and Shotzi took advantage of it. And then I love that. Then we go to where I said Stephanie McClure going in the back, looking and searching and seeing different wrestlers. We saw that in picture, guys. So we didn't hear all the conversations and all the what she was asking for, but I'm pretty sure she was looking for Fatal Influence because they cost that at number 1 contender. But you did see other different stories in the look in the back. Things when you cross in the back, you saw different things happening, which I appreciate, because remember, the CW, they only get 2 hours, and it's a hard 2 hours. They have to cut, and sometimes it hurts the NXT program. Sometimes, you know, we could debate if some cities take
it hurt
off.
This show at the end.
It did, and so, but I like that they did cram in without being too over. It wasn't overstuffed. It was just enough. You have to play detective a little bit, and that's good because it keeps you. You're not going to run and go get a drink. You're not going to go, you know, let me switch and see who's winning in this game, whatever. You have to keep your details and attention to details and focus on the wrestling, on the show. I love that, to see that. Number 1 contender, Shotzi, good luck with that. Then you get a match here with Ethan Page and Dante Chen. Dante Chen is the king of level up. I mean, he is a crowd favorite, one of my favorites. I love doing the whole entrance for Dante Chen. Ethan Page becoming unhinged, becoming that guy that he's taking people's body parts, man. He's destroying them. I like, what? Let me ask this, Chris. I love this iteration of Ethan Page as this heel. But the what he does after the fact, we saw Javon Evans. He knocked his, got his mouth shut. Cedric Alexander's hand, he got his hand. Now he was onto Dante's ankle. I mean, Ethan is in another level of heel.
I love this rivalry. Javon Evans has such a bright future. I mean, this is a guy who was handpicked by Randy. I've said this so many. I know I'm gonna keep going back on that, but to have that moment is just it shows that this, people behind the scenes see some real talent in Javon Evans, that he's the future. It just furthers the story. Ethan Page is what? He cheap attacked Cedric the other week, and now Dante. I mean, it's a good way for Ethan Page to get that heel. Now he had that moment with the final boss. Who knows what's going to happen there? I'm not saying anything will, but something could happen there that could elevate Ethan Page even more as a heel. But it's going to just further this rivalry. Once Javon Evans is healed from his jaw, they're going to have the match. Maybe at the PLE in February. I forget. I think it's Vengeance Day. I think that's what they're doing in February. Maybe they have their match there. But both of these guys have bright futures. So this is going to be one of those matches on the card. Like TNA Genesis has like the Mike Santana and Alexander. Two guys who have great wrestling, great futures. That they're just not in a title scene. That's what this match feels like to me. It's going to be great. They're both going to get over in this, no matter who wins or loses. But I think ultimately, Ethan Page wins the match. But great stuff. Ethan Page has been dominant. He's getting the dominant wins over the baby faces. And it's just going to set this to an ultimate rivalry where everyone's going to be behind Javon Evans to finally, humble Ethan Page for what he's done.
Nice job. And he was, I believe he was interviewed after NXT went off the air on Busted Open with Bully After Dark. We'll give them a shout out there. Where
Bully was like, "You're not gonna be doing that shit."
It was great. I love the setup. I love the whole setup to that interview because you knew they played that wrestling. They kept the kayfabe with the tension, which I love. And then Ethan came out being all ego, being a douchey, and I loved it. I was cracking up when I was listening to that interview.
It was great. Because Bully Ray was like, "Hey, before we get into this, like, remember who I am. Like, you're not going to be doing that with me." And I thought it was great.
It was phenomenal back and forth. And then he said he would like to hit, he teased. He didn't say exactly. He says, he doesn't have the authority pretty much to put himself in the Royal Rumble match. But could we see an Ethan Page at the Royal Rumble? Absolutely. Why not?
Yes.
Why not? Why not? Go in there. Why not being one of those guys of being a what I can call crap weasel, eliminating one of our favorites? Remember, there's a receipt out for CM Punk. CM Punk, remember, cost him. That's the opening CW on Chicago. Punk was the referee when Ethan lost his title, and there's some bad animosity receipt there. They could, and I love how WWE ties everything back. Ethan in the Royal Rumble. I mean, and Punk is the one gets eliminated by Ethan. Just saying. I'm just saying. I mean, it might not happen, but just get me. But I want to hear from you guys. You guys are quiet. I want to hear from you guys. Yeah, you never know. We go to the next one in a number one contenders match for the women's tag team titles. The Unholy Union taking on the Metaphor Lash Legend Jakara Jackson. Week after week, we're seeing the elevation of wrestling and tag team psychology with Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson. You're seeing them; they're teaming up with the certain moves that they do. Where we see Lash Legend continues to wrestle as the big, strong wrestler, the big woman in this one, and Jakara using her high flying and also becoming a little more of a ring technicality, working on some arms and working. Which I'm like, okay, she's mixing that high flying along with some mat wrestling. You're seeing her wrestling game in Jakara Jackson rounding into form in a sweet way. that opportunity of them to go to Saudi Arabia and wrestle in Saudi, and also seeing them on SmackDown has really inspired them to take their talents to even better levels. And I think they're going to have a phenomenal 2025 year for the Metal Women. And the Unholy Union, it's not a step back for them. They even though they did not come victorious and lost, they're still mighty over. Where right now they just got to find a place for them where there's a storyline with them. I hope they don't want to go that route of them breaking up, because they had, to be honest with you, if they did, I've seen it before. And they've had some monster, deadly feuds with one another in NXT 2.0. You know, when they came from the NXT UK was absorbed to NXT 2.0, the relaunch 3.0, whatever you want to, when it went from the color splash into that before they became this NXT with the silver and black again. Those feud was great. And then they decided to team them together, and they went for tag and go. I hope they don't try to separate them, but it might make sense in a way, because now there's 2 women mid-card titles. Alba Fire, you know, Kaylee Ray. Alba Fire was her. But anyways, she was a hell of a singles competition wrestler before teaming up in the tag team. And Isla Dawn, with her presentation, you know, she's a crowd favorite. They could separate them and go their separate ways to one on for the mid card titles in different brands. So we'll see what goes for those 2 ladies, because maybe the tag team isn't working currently right now for them, because they're not getting enough TV time, exposure, whatever the case is. And maybe that's something in 2025 we see for the ladies, and maybe we'll see how that goes moving forward for them. We get a match between Kalani Jordan and Cora Jade. We're starting to see the unhinged performance of Kalani Jordan, but the most important thing, that it was a seed for the big event that's happening in the middle of coming in a couple of days in the week, was seeing the NXT Knockouts champion Marcel Slamovich sitting in the front row, absorbing and watching the match with Cora Jade. They had a visual eye contact with one another, a little wave hello from Cora, planting the seed there of we're seeing the TNA Knockouts champion back on NXT television. And of course, that was a good one. The match between Cora and Jade and Kalani Jordan. Jade defeats Jordan, and that's leading to her unhinging moment there, Chris. The crowd getting pretty much annoyed a little bit, which was, you know, with Kalani's losing. I don't know what's your thoughts on that one? Because it kind of felt weird. The crowd.
I'm a huge fan of Cora Jade. So don't take my bias, but I like this for Cora. Kalani's great. She's phenomenal. Cora's been through a lot, you know, health-wise with her leg. She came back and one of my best friends, who I helped do his one of his little shows. He was at that show, and you know, we were talking about how, you know, she came back. I think it was a Deadline in Connecticut, where the pay-per-view where like CM Punk came out and then Shawn Michaels, they took that little picture. It was that pay-per-view where she came back and she was like, I'm back. And then she got hurt right after, like the Tuesday after or something, she got hurt. And for her now to be healthy she's consistently on TV. I like this. If she does do something, you know, with TNA, going for the TNA Knockouts title, that's going to elevate her. Kalani Jordan, you know, she's the first ever women's North American champion. She's definitely going to go after that title in the future, probably after the core maybe wins it. I know she lost, but I think she's going to get the title match eventually after Shotzi. And, you know, it's all going to be good for Kalani at the end. But I understand. I understand why the crowd, or why people, you know, are not happy with Kalani losing. People say she's kind of going heel route. She's been a little more aggressive.
Yeah.
So who knows what they're really planting there? Maybe her losing is gonna plant her to ultimately be a heel. And we're gonna see that for the first time. So that's gonna be something to look at as well. So that's why I don't mind the results here, despite my biasness for Cora. match. It's going to elevate Kalani into something different. And if Cora actually, goes for that knockouts title, it's going to elevate both of them. So I think it's going to be a win-win. Just give some time for both.
I agree with you on that one there. And of course, we saw a backstage promo with DIY. DIY is in the performance center, and later on that evening, they'll come out. We'll be coming out in the balcony for the Axiom Nathan Frazier taking on OTM in a good match. You see the big guys, the power of OTM taking on just right now, you could say one of the top 2 tag teams in professional wrestling, all across wrestling, and Nathan Frazier and Axiom. The way they perform, they also defeat OTM. Great job with the hard hitting with Bronco Lima. I mean, I remember he used to be the one that used to pretty much have the metal detector wand to let you in at NXT. He was security first because they start off when they're undeveloped wrestlers, they're security to help with the crowd, crowd control to get you in the arena, and then they become level up, and then they start wrestling. And then like Hank was a security guard himself. They all start off as security guard in NXT before they become wrestlers. Well, Bronco, I used to always have a conversation with him. He's very close to his brother, very nice, younger little brother. Very nice. The kid was awesome. My point is, I'm glad to see him wrestle, to see him getting some TV time. Come so close to winning that title. The match was a hell of a good match. If they run it back, I have no problem wanting to see that again. But it all seems like it's going to be not a unification, but to see if you're the best tag team, I'm the best tag team. Something's got to give here. It looks like they're teasing that from DYI versus Nathan Frazier and Axiom in the near future. We'll find out on that there. That match, what's your thought on that match, real quick, before we move?
Oh, good match. Great showing. They had a little more time than usual, I thought, to really showcase, but it's a great win. I think whenever this tag team match happens with DIY, it's going to be incredible. I think, in-ring wise, it's going to be they needed this win. It's just a simple win for Frazier and Axiom. I can never pronounce his fucking name right. Okay, I can never pronounce it right. I always butcher it. But yeah, it's a great win. They're gonna set it up in the future. I don't think it's gonna be a winner takes all, but
I hope not.
I hope throw it up there. But yeah,
no, I don't want to see what they did with the I don't want to see what they did with the NXT Women's Tag Team title. No.
Yeah, true.
That was a huge mistake. Huge mistake.
Yeah.
That was a huge.
It was. I didn't like when Xavier and Kofi won it. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I hope they don't throw that. They could, but it's gonna be a great match or whatever happens. It's just this win was just for them to look tough in front of DIY to prove them, hey, we're them. Let's go. And that whole stare off at the end with them holding both the belts. It's gonna be a great match.
I'm gonna go to the ending of the segment, and then because there's some controversy before that night began on NXT. That was part of Monday Night Raw and NXT. But I want to close out the NXT with Roxanne Perez coming out and cutting out a heartfelt promo on the microphone. At first, it started a little baby facious, and then she went right into the heel to be in, that the division isn't going to be never the same without her being the world champion. Good luck, enjoy it, because it's going to kind of implementing that it's going to suck without her. And out comes another, and she even mentioned the 4 horsewomen, just like Beetlejuice. Out comes one of the 4 horsewomen, Bailey. They get into that face-to-face where Bailey just gave her a reality check. The women's division is going to thrive with or without you. Pretty much that it thrived with the 4 horsewomen and without the 4 horsewomen. They got even better. You could argue about it. And, of course, to a lot of discomfort to some people, the physicality started and certain markets in the CW cut off. Didn't see when Roxanne gave her the beating of, slapped her. Some did, some didn't. Some claimed they did, some they didn't go. That's one thing that I've always been, and we said it on our watch when we were watching it. NXT has to wrap up around 9:55. And if they got 5 minutes, they could either do a little whole, talking or stare down, whatever, or even a little backstage closeout or whatever, or go to the commentators to say goodnight or whatever, just to leave them that safe space so you don't lose anything. And they, instead of having a celebration of a wonderful night that Bailey is going to challenge Roxanne Perez. It looks like it that Roxanne is going to have a program with Bailey. We don't know what brand, if it's going to be on NXT, it's going to be on SmackDown or Raw, whatever, because we saw her. We also forgot to mention on Monday Night Raw, Nia Jax showed up and of course with Bailey, and they got into it there. So so 24 hours later, she ends up on NXT. So that what a speak of fire miles for Bailey, because she's going back and forth from coast to coast, and now Roxanne Perez now getting into a little bit of a tussle with Roxanne Perez. Cut off or don't cut off, we'll find out where that goes later in the week. But the big controversy that came out from Monday into Tuesday night was a tweet by one other than former Raw commentary, now part of SmackDown, now was on NXT last week, now is in limbo, Corey Graves. Feeling much, just paraphrasing, being his dream job, he couldn't, and his dream was to be a wrestler. And he got injured, he couldn't fulfill that. Now he was on the hottest show, now he got pulled. So he's a little frustration with him, and he has a lot to say for tonight on NXT. So we expected him to talk. We thought it was part of the a shoot, or what is it? I get those two backwards. Shoot, work, whatever. Part of the gimmick, part of the program. We don't know if it's part of the gimmick or if it's just him in just frustrating, commentating as Corey, not the performer but the person. So we don't know where Corey Graves stands with this. We don't know now. Monday, due to the national title game, Pat McAfee's pulled out of Monday Night Raw because he's going to do he's not because he got in trouble or anything. He's just going to do the college football. It's the national title game. Barrett's going to be the one to replace him, not Corey Graves. So we want to know what the hell's going on with Corey Graves. Where is he? What's his status with the company? Was he right, wrong, or indifferent to lash out on his frustration of being sent to NXT just to commentate on NXT? We talked about it before on our watch along before we started off, because I like to do news and notes half hour, 15 minutes before the show starts. But we'll re-say it again. They're paying you the same money. They're asking you to go down. It's really not it's not a demotion. Mike Rome, who was on SmackDown, is now doing ring announcing for NXT. There was no issue with him. He's getting paid the same money. Just go. You're going to commentate. People, you're going to hear you talk no matter what. Give us your story. Tell us, narrate for us what's happening in the wrestling ring. What are we watching? No matter what brand it is. Do your best, because you know what? If you're too good for the program, it's gonna show. It's gonna shine. So Corey, I hope this is I personally want him to be a manager. Me, I hope this turns into a manager, but he's pissed off and use that as a fuel to wreak havoc on WWE with a family, with a fashion, with a group. Chris, give me your thoughts before we move on here for Wednesday night. You might have frozen. Right.
I was gonna say I would like to bring one thing up. So, okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
So I want to bring one thing up with this Corey Graves situation. One thing with this Corey Graves situation. One, I've seen multiple things on websites, wrestling sources, websites. One source is saying that it's not a work. It can be, but it's at least the beginning of a shoot, right? Now, I want everybody to think about this for a second, because I don't.
Where did you go?
Oh, what the heck? Can you hear me? Oh my.
We can hear you. There you go. Where did he go?
Okay, there we go. Sorry. So, remember, guys, Pat McAfee is not going to be on Monday Night Raw this week.
Correct.
Why? The national champion for college football. Who do they put into that spot is going to be so interesting. My lead report, it's going to be Wade Barrett.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if Wade Barrett steps in on commentary on Raw with McAfee gone, who knows what this is? That's really when after Monday Night Raw is when I'm going to have more of an opinion, because right now I still look, disagreements happen with this company all the time. We've seen it.
Right.
Same guy's not in charge. These things can be talked out. These things can be worked out. I want to give Corey Graves the benefit of the doubt. He's a Pittsburgh guy. I respect the hell out of him. But if like I said, McAfee. I'm gonna be watching my team in the Natty. I will see McAfee. You know, he's clearly not gonna be on Raw. So, we're gonna have to see who fills in that spot. And if it's not Corey Graves, I'm really curious to see what. Then I'll be like, okay, I don't know. I just simply don't know. And if he shows,
they announced it, Chris. Sorry to interrupt you. Barrett announced on Friday night that he will be on Monday Night Raw doing commentary. He said it himself on the broadcast last night.
Oh, yep. Wade Barrett confirms he will be on this week's show in Dallas with reports of McAfee. Wow. Okay then. See now I don't know. Because obviously it's an established commentary team with Tessitore and Barrett on the SmackDown side. And right now, Corey Graves isn't anywhere. He's the perfect person to put with Michael Cole. When McAfee was, look, I'm a McAfee guy. I love McAfee. But when McAfee's not there, Cole and Graves are arguably the two best duo. They have such great chemistry together. Corey Graves has been out of his shell, just like a lot of these other commentators have since, the old man left. I think this is going to be worked out, and I hope it is, because that's somebody you want on commentary. He's good on commentary. He knows professional wrestling probably better than Pat. It's, again, I understand the business side of the decision, but I also feel Corey Graves' frustration. So I don't know what's going on. All I know is now it's confirmed. I must have missed it last night. He won't be at Raw, so we'll see. I have no idea with him now not being at Raw with McAfee going. That really gives me some speculation that maybe things aren't good, or maybe they're waiting to work this out as a work. Who knows? I think we'll know more by then next week.
I've got a theory, but I want to put a pin on that theory because I want to get into Wednesday night, and what time is it? Where only 600 and something plus people watches. We're gonna go into AEW Maximum Carnage. I almost had a hard time saying that. I almost put the G in front of the C, but let's go right into it. Excuse me. I'm gonna give this over to you here personally, because the one thing I do want to comment is the Powerhouse Hobbs situation where, should he have gone over, but your thoughts here. We saw Megan Bain show up on the Casino Gauntlet Women's match up there. They say that was a good one. I'm gonna be honest with you, did not watch it. That's, again, I like watching the pay-per-views because we're gonna cover it and do watch-alongs and all that stuff. But week to week episodic for Elite for me is not my cup of coffee.
So
to be honest,
I'll give a
go for it.
So all right, so yeah, this kind of what happened during this week's Dynamite, right? They started off with Kenny Omega versus Brian Cage with Lance Archer and Don Callis. The Omega being back on AEW TV could be significantly good for the company. They haven't
I agree with you on that.
Too much, he hasn't been there. AEW hasn't been on fire. I think Omega's the guy that they have to build this company around him at this point. It was a good match. It was Kenny's back. He did a good job of selling the injury. We're getting the Don Callis feud. Ospreay seems to be, on Kenny's side. I mean, whoa, like they could redo something with Kenny Omega. Just build the damn company out there. Cuts another, promo. The fans are booed by him, and then in comes Swerve Strickland. It was a quick segment. I think this is going to lead to obviously a Swerve Ricochet match, but
Chris, you're breaking up.
This was really quick.
Hold on a second, Chris. Give me a second. You're breaking up with your audio.
Like all over the place. What the hell?
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit with your audio.
Hey, Kev, can you hear me?
I can hear you, but when you go on for like 5 when you're going for a full sentences, it starts breaking in a little bit. But well, let me ask you about. Let me ask question as is here with the Don Callis family. They're obviously Kenny Omega attacking.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. I don't know what's going on with the computer. You like froze and stuff. But
Okay, so you're having a little bit of technical difficulty.
But
Right.
real quick, Kev, I don't know what the hell's going on.
What you do is
did you hear anything about the Jeff Jarrett and MJF promo?
No, I did not. This is what I heard from the gist of it. There was a lot of realism to it. Like MJF went there about the wife Karen. Jeff Jarrett, like the veteran that he is, brushed it off. He heard it. It's like I've been there, done that. I've heard everything before. Nothing that you said is going to surprise me or shock or popping circumstances. Here's where the IWC, I know IWC had an issue with from MJF. I didn't hear the promo. I'm going by from what I've heard from others. Again, this is not my own words. They had a issue with mentioning of Owen Hart. I don't know what was said about Owen, what was brought up. How bad was it? Was it something for the IWC to be really getting upset about? All right.
Sorry.
We'll get a minute. So, Chris, why don't you just refresh your whole browser? I'll bring you back on stage, and then we'll make sure that you can hear. He's going to step out for a moment. He'll give us a refresh, and I'll continue to go in there. Now, if that's the truth, where MJF did bring up Owen Hart, it all depends on how he brought Owen Hart, what he said about Owen Hart. If we just say, you were a terrible friend for Owen Hart, for not letting him do the laser deal, it's got to be. You got to be the person to hear it, to interpret it yourself, to make an opinion. I didn't hear it, so full disclosure, I'm not gonna get up here and sit on a social justice warrior platform and say he should never mention Owen, because he's dead, and Martha Hart joins and is part of the AEW with her tournament XYZ. I'm not going to get upset with that, but you got a veteran guy in Jeff Jarrett who's trying to get his last hurrah, before he calls it up and hangs it up. He's getting that, and he's got MJF, who is trying to get back to what he was as the world champion, face of the company. You're kind of like a stepping stone for Jarrett. If he gets over MJF from world champion, now it can kind of legitimize MJF trying to run and get that AEW world title opportunity later down in the calendar year. Or for MJF to reestablish himself, beating a Jeff Jarrett, putting him away, and moving forward to him also possibly running after and getting an opportunity for the AEW World Championship. So kind of like a stepping stone, kind of like a number one contender, quote unquote, but for the year in AEW, in my opinion. So, Chris, my question to you, hopefully you hear me, was what was said about the Owen Hart? That's fine. What was that said about Owen Hart that got the IWC up and raw? I didn't hear it, so again, okay. I'm not gonna opinionate on it.
Yeah. So first off, apologies, fix my stuff, hopefully, but never had this problem. So yes, so Jeff Jarrett got out there, cut a promo. So MJF was basically talking about how you entered the Owen Hart Cup tournament last year, and you basically used your dead friend as like a leech. You leeched on your dead friend, and you cut that whole promo, blah 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 blah. Like he'd be ashamed of you, blah blah. Like he was basically talking about how like you just leeched off your dead friend, like and then he like made I forget specifically what he said as a joke, but he basically was just I don't get it. I didn't understand it. That had nothing to do with Owen Hart. You guys can take personal shots at each other, talk about Kim Jarrett. It made me pop. I was like, whoa. But this is just another MJF promo. I'm not surprised about this. I applaud Jeff Jarrett for the way he handled it. I'm not gonna lie. If somebody, look, some of these stuff, I don't know. In AEW, I don't think half of this shit gets thought out or planned out before they say it. Especially MJF. So Jeff Jarrett, I don't know. If it was me, I mean, eventually Jeff Jarrett did something about it, but I don't know how I felt too much about the promo. It was just too many cheap. Awkward. It was awkward. The crowd. You should have heard the crowd when MJF was like, "Yeah, you're leeching off your dead friend." Oh, like the crowd was just like, "Whoa!" Like, what do we say? It was just cheap insults from MJF. And then Jeff Jarrett talked about like his parents getting a divorce and MJF's parents and getting a divorce. That's when MJF brought up Owen.
Also, okay. I mean, at least it was an awkward moment for all 300 people in attendance there. Be honest with you, the cheap shot that I thought was when he said making money off of his dead friend. It kind of felt like he was talking to Tony Khan, making money off of the Owen Cup with Martha. It kind of felt, if anything, anyone should be offended. It should be Tony Khan with that.
And then Jeff Jarrett. MJF is with Alicia Trout, the backstage announcer. Jeff Jarrett.
Yes.
Jeff Jarrett was like, "Yeah, your girl's sleeping with the entire AEW roster when you don't even know about it." And then Jeff said that MJF's mom made MJF's dad pay for shit, and then basically, so it was just a lot of personal.
Also, so instead of so he said Alicia Atu was the sour cream skin with no cans. Like she's the Joy Taylor of AEW. That's not cool. Not. All right, we move on here. I saw Hook was back.
Oh, great!
And so was his dad Taz. I mean, let's face it. Let's call
this match dragged. Kev, this match dragged. It didn't feel interesting once. We've seen this mierda so many times between Christian Cage and Hook and Taz. The best part about this was Samoa Joe coming back.
Okay, that's what I'm gonna get to too. But let me ask this question. I kind of feel Taz did a real bad disservice for his son, allowing him to have him go to All Elite Wrestling. And I'm not saying he should go to NXT, but he should at least get him to reality of. He should have got him to reality of wrestling. I don't know how him and Booker are. He's good. He was good friends with Devon and Bubba Ray going up to the AEW, pleading with Caddy. The kid obviously looked like he needed to be more seasoned. If you ask me right now, if I was to do a poll, wrestling fans, and you are next, let's totally be honest. Don't put your feelings aside. Don't put your personal feelings into this question. Between the career trajectory right now, between Hook or Zila Fatu, who do you think has the bigger future? Who might be the better wrestler? Who's going to make the more money right now? Hook is in AEW. He's supposedly in the second major big company. Zila's still running around in the indies. But look at the pop and circumstances and the trajectory from Azila Fatu. If you were to put those two wrestlers, who you think will have who is more? I asked that question to you. Who? And I want to hear your thoughts on that. Chris, who do you think?
Honestly, Zilla, because
I didn't pick a WWE wrestler. By the way, I picked an independent wrestler.
Yes, because people were comparing Hook to Dominic Mysterio. This was the conversation early last year was like, who's going to have the bigger future, Hook or Dom, right?
Right.
The thing about Hook, he should be in a bigger position. He's surrounded by so many freaking talent. Veterans like Christian Cage. You're telling me Christian Cage can't put this guy over? His dad is in the company. And Chris Jericho can't put him over either. And his dad's in the company too. He can't get him over. I mean, Zilla.
I think his father is the main problem. I'm gonna be honest with you. His father's the problem.
I think he wants him in AEW. I don't think he wants him to go anywhere else.
That's one. And his dad has a shit attitude.
Yeah.
That man is a piece of crap. You know how Greca called Rich Holland piece of crap? Well, Taz, because even mentioned by his own peers among himself on interviews, on radio interviews. The guy is not the most friendly. I used to listen to him when he was on CBS Radio for sports before AEW existed. Not a great guy, man. He looked like he treated it. And there's rumors, there's been reports from CBS Radio Sports Network. He was not good with his team, with his co-workers in the newsroom or in his radio show. He was a prick with them. He's just a miserable person, and always said about him about that. From all different, from Mark Malusis, who they try to team him up with him. From so many people have said it for so many times, they don't like him. He's, they're not a well-liked person. And that sucks when if your name comes up and they associate you with miserable, that sucks, man, to go in life. I know he probably said, I don't give a shit what they say about me. That's fine. But you know what? You close the doors. And I think that's not benefiting your son right now. You already been there, done that. You're a has-been now. You got to think about planning and opening and mending fences and bridges that you're burning because your sons and your lineage is not going to cross because of your attitude. I think he's holding Hook the most.
Yeah, and the thing about Hook is too, before he decided to, quit everything he was doing and pursue wrestling, the guy had a full ride scholarship for lacrosse. Like he was a really, really
he was a hell of a lacrosse player.
And
Taz used to gloat about him, and rightfully so. That's what a father should do when he used to play. He was proud of his son when he played. And I'm not saying that he's not proud of him now. I'm not saying that, but he used to. We heard about him when he was up and coming as a high school athlete. With the opportunity to go to scholarship. He was very a proud father of his son. And you got it now. You have to say, "Oh, step back. What's best for my son right now?" He carve his own path. It's not. I don't think All Elite Wrestling really, to be honest with you, it's not doing any services to his sons. And the same thing I'm going with Billy Ass. Billy Gunn is another one.
Oh my God!
You're telling me that Colt and Austin in NXT they would have been better than the Lotharios. Mm-hmm. To me, they're AEW's version of Lotharios, and Lotharios at least gets on TV to wrestle on SmackDown. And just think about the way right now with DX pretty much running WWE creative, and you got the Road Dogg Jesse James, part of a producer. You're telling me they would have not taken care of Colt and Austin Gunn, but meanwhile you're having your personal feelings or whatever with Hunter and Sean, with Levesque and Hickenbacker, because I'm going to call him by the real name because it seems like there's something personal with Billy holding your kids back because you have put that. You know what? It's your kids. You got to push it aside. You got to let them set up and make their money, their cheddar, their generational wealth changing money. You already had your husband. What? So you could run around with a bunch with two guys that are a bunch. It was cute, the scissoring, but you really kind of now you buried your sons because you leapfrog to go play Scissor Me, Bang Bang Scissor Gang, which went nowhere, and now Colt and Austin are doing nothing.
And they're so good, man. They're so when they came out to Mini Man, I was just like, all right,
that was great.
These guys got it. They didn't do anything with them after that.
No, and their tag team title run, I was happy they got. Everybody's like, why did you put them the tag team title? Because the booking didn't help them stay as tag team champions and get them over. The booking killed both the Acclaim and Austin and Colt. They killed them both because they didn't follow up. They didn't put anything behind it. They were like, all right, now they hot potatoed that. That's not their fault. That's not the talent fault. That's storyline and creative fault to make us invest and care about them. So so Hook is back. Whippy do. Samoa Joe. They need that. They need the Kenny Omegas. They need the Samoa Joe. They need those name powers for people to at least tune in for, because let's face it, these star powers that they have currently now, people are not resonating. They went in 2024, the year of 2024, they wanted to sign all these big free agents, and they were gloating in March. We got this one, we signed that one, and I remember the New York Post said, Triple H is long in the dust, not signing anyone. Now look at 2025, who's hotter than anything. I mean, you know, it's not who you sign, is what you do with that, with the signees. You could, you know, if you don't do anything with them, it's gonna mean nothing. It's gonna be no point. We're not gonna care in them. You know, there's nothing. They don't give us a reason to care for them. We're not gonna watch and invest in it. That's an issue. You gotta make us care about your signing. I couldn't care less of Okada. Seriously, I couldn't really. Now I don't care. Couldn't care less of Okada. Tell us why should I care and give a flying, or Jay White that was gloating that he didn't sign with WWE. Okay, so you didn't do nothing with him. You try to heat him up at World's End, make him tease us a little bit, and then now what? Because it's me. The main event was Hobbs. So Hobbs 2 weeks from now, to heat him up like a microwave. That's the problem. He wants to give people the TV dinner experience of wrestling, the microwave type of wrestling. You know, I'm just gonna put it in the microwave, heat it up. Certain parts might be hot, and certain parts, when you cook a meal that you don't cook it through in the microwave, it's freaking frozen inside, and that's what AEW is. Only certain parts are a little bit hot, so the diehards would eat the hot spot, and the real cold part of the meal is frozen as shit, still part of the freezer burn. That's what this company is right now.
Yep, I agree, and
it's a shame. It's a shame. Because Powerhouse Hobbs should have been the Death Riders. That whole Death Rider thing, people say it sucks.
It's the main event
because
too. That's their main act. Think about that. That is their main act. No Kenny, no Ospreay. No, the Death Riders and Cope are their main act. As a day one AEW fan, I just can't have. Like you said, I agree with everything you have to say. Some parts are hot. There's really nothing too much of it that's hot right now. It's just they got to change their act. I mean, you can't have this shit as your biggest act on the show. No one's watching it. Everybody's turning it off when the main event starts. That's not how a wrestling program should work. You got to have your people there for the main event. No, people, myself included, I turned it off as soon as I heard Moxley's music hit.
And look, you could look, Chris. You could have, if you want to go, if he's contracted, obligated, and he has to do a title run or whatever. I don't know. You could still make it where it's important and makes sense. There's a lot of stupidity going along, and I like the marks that want to say, oh, they're comparing. It's just like the Bloodline. They interference. You guys didn't complain about it, but the Bloodline. Why did the Bloodline? And I want, if those that want to compare the Death Rider interfering with all the Bloodline interfering. Here's where it is, Chris. When the Bloodline interfered, they were family members together trying to save Roman Reigns' title because they're a family, blood related. They didn't want Roman Reigns to lose his world title. Okay, en mi familia, we're eating. He's helping us get fed with money and exposure. What is, at least they went out of their way to explain that to us. Their family, this is my bloodline because they're by cousin relatives, by birth. The Death Riders never went out of the way to explain why they're gathered together. You know, okay, Claudio was in the Blackpool Comic Club by association. Okay, we hanged out. I gave you my vision. We drank some beer, and I agree with you. But why did you associate yourself with Maria Shafina? They never gave us a backstory. Why?
Yeah, they never told us.
I mean, that's that. So because why did you gravitate to Marina? At least when the Blackpool Comic Club came together, Regal came out and he recruited these wrestlers individual. He stopped Moxley and Bryan Danielson from killing each other. They said, "Why beat yourself up against each other? Together, we're gonna rule. We'll rule AEW." That's what they brought the back. They made. There was a reason when Regal came out and interrupted. They gave you a reason, a story why the Blackpool Comic Club formed. Death Riders, there's no reason. Oh, I hate what this company turned into. You don't know, things are gonna. Okay, what is that? So it turned into even more crappier. So it went from crap to diarrhea. I mean, give us a reason. Explain. It's okay. You know what? It's okay to use your digital media platform instead of sitting there and tweeting like an idiot This is to Coney Khan. Oh, this was awesome. Justified. This is awesome. We're the #1 wrestling show on demographics on Wednesday for people who are 21 to 24 years old. Why don't you just take your digital media platform and put and tell the story there then? If you don't have enough time on TBS, Max, whatever, put it on Twitter. Tell us why a little bit of a 5-minute, 3-minute. Your AEW diehard will watch it, or a YouTube video on AEW. Your AEW channel, why Moxley came with Shafir. And if you know what, then you could show it some footage on you have Excalibur. You know, talk about it too. Or push people towards the digital media platform. I don't get why they're not executing like that. You hired Will Washington. All he did was an AEW mark who did the same thing we're doing, talking about wrestling, and you decided to bring him on because he knows the internet. He knows how to tweet. He tweets with Denise Salcedo, and they're great friends. I'll bring him on to work with us. And you ain't doing shit, Will Washington. Those are the ideas you should be coming up with. Seriously, you were in our seats. You were in our position before. Now you're in the company. You got an insight. You got the ear of the con man. Tell him why don't we invite? No, but we want to give a 5-star matches. That's fine. You could give your 5-star matches you want on TV, on TBS, TNT, or on Tubi, wherever the hell you're going to be on in the next few years. But explain. If you don't want to do the storytelling, explaining to your audience on your television show, use your digital media platform, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. Use it so your fan base could see that storytelling, and then they could talk and when they go after when Air or the real one wants to come on and compare and wants to start that tribalism, at least they have some substance with a storyline they could tell and don't sound like fool. So we'll move on from that, Chris. I mean, it's crazy. It's so simple, and this is me who don't like the product, and I'm telling you how to fix it. I'm gonna be honest. I don't like AEW. To me, you're copy and paste WCW. I said it from the very first time, from when Cody hit the throne. I said it, and I still stay with it. You're copy and paste. But look how quick you can fix it. From person who don't like it, you guys are so terrible that I'm like telling you tips how to try to get it improved. So people to watch it and be competitive. That's just me. All right, so we'll move on to Thursday night. But before Thursday night starts, we get the bomb. The biggest explosion across wrestling. We have a multi-year agreement with the WWE and TNA, where they have a multi-partnership. We already know there's a working collaboration with NXT and TNA, but now it's going across the whole platform with WWE, Triple H, Paul Levesque, Tommy Dreamer, Shawn Michaels in Sanford, Connecticut, as well as the one and only Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in attendance there. They put the press release at 12:04 in the afternoon. Boy, we were excited about that, and we love the endless possibilities with that, because now the Royal Rumble, when we talked to Tony, who mentioned who's going to be there, now you're going to have representation now from TNA in the Royal Rumble, because now they have that working agreement. So the Rumble has gone to another uber level of excitement of who the hell is going to show up. Every countdown for the men and women could be anyone, Chris.
I agree. We're gonna see some TNA talent inside that Rumble for sure. It's gonna be more now, because last year, I don't think we saw any men from TNA in the Rumble last year. So we're gonna get that this year. So that's gonna be good. I'm excited. I love the partnership. I know we talked a little bit about it before on our playback during TNA, but it benefits both companies, especially with NXT, because like I said, Cora Jade, for an example, if she does end up going to fight for the Knockouts title, this is not a test, but you could test some of these NXT wrestlers or some of these wrestlers, so we're like, hey, can you go to this company and maybe have a great match with them? Like, let's see how you do. And then, they get a bigger opportunity from WWE, vice versa. TNA goes to WWE, hey, you killed it over there. Like, come over. Like, so it's so I'm happy. I'm happy for that. I'm happy for both parties, especially TNA. This can get them a bigger TV deal.
Yeah, and by the way, speaking of TV deals, TNA right now is currently on Sportsnet in Canada. That's where Monday Night Raw used to be on Monday night when they were on the USA Network. So
Oh.
as Monday Night Raw removed away from Netflix into that slot, but not on Mondays, but on Thursdays in that same network where that already carried wrestling for many years via the WWE flag, and also where I believe SmackDown's on there as well. I'm not that. Correct me, Canadians, my Canadian fellow listeners, if I'm right. SmackDown is on Sportsnet. Correct me if I'm wrong, but also now TNA slides into that Sportsnet where it's now on Thursday nights. Now, also that's a huge thing because now they're going to go live. Now, I said this a year ago. I sniffed this a year ago, and I got the videos there. I said at the Rumble. I've been saying it, and I even said it throughout the whole course of the year. I got a little bit of heat from some people on the WWC about it, but I didn't give it. I stood with my laurels. What I said, it came out of my mouth, and I stood by it. I said WWE was going to purchase, and they didn't say they purchased TNA. Again, they're working in a multi-year together agreement. But I say they were going to be partners. They were going to work. They were going to purchase it because last year on this time they were going to change the names to pay-per-view to premium live events. They were using verbiages and terminology of TKO, WWE, and then we saw Jordan Grace. Then Trinity came over. Then we started seeing the working relationship with NXT. Then to see the titles being defended on PLEs for WWE, and we seen the Knockouts title. We saw the title, vice versa, and I go, wait, there's that working relationship. Then the final resolution, I thought they were going to announce this partnership there in Atlanta, but what a best place to name it in Genesis, in the beginning. If you look at the word, if you read the Bible, in the beginning, there was the word. And of course, in the beginning, Genesis, that's called Genesis. So I'm glad that came true. I'm excited. I'm ecstatic. And I know that's going to work there. And I got Tony says, let me read this one. If WWE is going to have TNA guys part of the Rumble, then I think it's time to make it more than the Super Royal Rumble. They've done it in the past. Tony. They've done it in the past. You know when I think they'll do that? When they do 2 nights of the Rumble, Tony. Because if they do 2 nights, if they announce 2 nights, and I don't know if that's going to happen, guys. I don't think WWE is not going to do 2 nights in the Rumble. Case in point, the reason why, because of the NFL. They have to find the right dates. They got to find the right time to put the Rumble on a Saturday and a Sunday. I normally it's usually in between the Super Bowl week, when they have that break. But here's where it gets convoluted, Tony. If they go to an extra football, another extra game, 18-game schedule for the NFL, they look like they're gonna add more and more game, and they're trying to push the Super Bowl to President's Day. That might get in the way of the Rumble, but WWE wants to work nice with NFL. But to be honest with you, WWE's competition is really the NFL. So it's a convolute there. I would love to see that a super where you're gonna have TNA representation there. At least give me 5 TNA top men, 5 NXT, and give me 20 of the WWEs, and then you have your 30. Or, with the 20 of the WWE, you could mix a legend here and there, 5 or 4 legends returning, whatever the case is, and you could, because let's face it, there's no need. I'm going to be honest with you, Tony, and I hope you agree with me or not. There's no reason to see either Lotarios or Pretty Deadly in the Royal Rumble. There's no reason for neither to see one of those two. There isn't. They're not going to They're not going to win the Rumble. They're just fillers. So I'd rather have a Moose come out instead of no disrespect. No disrespect to Kit Wilson. No disrespect to Lotarios. No disrespect to Pretty Deadly. We don't need to see them. We don't need to see neither one right now in there. We don't need to see Cedric Alexander. We don't need to see Ashanti. We don't need to see none of them there. We definitely or even Apollo Crews. No disrespect. I'd rather see give me a Mike Santana come out there instead of him. Give me something. Oh damn, Mike Santana's in here. Obafemi, even Tony D'Angelo. And I kind of want to see that. Give me, if you're gonna go top heavy with this Rumble this year, bring those type of wrestlers. Like, damn, this is tough. Who the hell is gonna, yeah, I definitely would like to see that. So now that we have the partnership, we had the final Impact. This was recorded in December, so it's kind of tough to. I'm not going to put too much emphasis on the Impact. And when we saw this Thursday that passed, we didn't like the matches and everything was good on that Impact Zone. We didn't like the way they closed out. with the face-to-face between Nick Nemeth and Joe Henry. It didn't talk me in the building. I want to say thank you so much that Tessa Blanchard and Jordan Grace just killed it at the end of the main event or the show closing, because you could see there is a lot of dislike and love lost, and they don't like each other, and it showed. And I was like, yeah, I gotta order this. I gotta watch it. By the way, we're gonna be watching it live. We are live watching it here, so we not on YouTube, on our playback. So the description is in the video. You hit it, 7 o'clock. We're going live on the air. You'll be able to see it, not just hear us. You'll be able to see the wrestling interact, watch along, and see. And of course, we'll get TNA growing. And not only that, next Thursday night, this is another sign that I knew WWE was involved in this. They're going live. So it's been years that Impact, the Zone, is going to come live on a Thursday night. Usually tape. It's going to be live this Thursday, and I think it's going to, for the foreseeable future, I think it's going to stay live for TNA. Love it.
Yeah,
I love it. And here
be live.
Yes, I got a feeling that The Rock is going to surprise us and be there's a lot of rumblings that Dwayne The Rock will be number 31 as the corporate boss. The final corporate boss in there, and he might get Punk, Cena, Joe Henry, and The Rock in the last 5-man standing will be seen. I think Punk will get eliminated by Ethan Page. I mean, man, I would love to see Ethan Page be like number 27 or 28. Like, oh, Ethan Page, and he comes in and Punk and Rollins, and then Ethan throws because you could bring up Ethan Page and come on a heel group, you know.
Yeah.
It's just so many possibilities there, man. So next week, Thursday, it will be live, for the Impact Zone will be totally live. So right off of Genesis, we're gonna see live. Would it be Joe Henry as the world champion kicking off the Impact Zone live, and then his first opponent will be someone from NXT? You never know. And then wanted to say this. It was a closing and a goodbye for Miss Cheng. Was the ring announcer, the wife of Alexander, no longer part of that. Was her last ring announcing duties. And Trent Seven, I believe, was the final hurrah for him to leave. Why I said this throughout the whole year, I want to go real quick on this one, was whenever I saw certain wrestlers not re-signing with the company, and they were calling, and I just saw the breadcrumbs, guys, with the calling them from premium live event, the collaboration, and then seeing certain wrestlers not re-signing with TNA, where like, where are you going? And then they didn't go to All Elite Wrestling either. A la Mustafa Ali, who had the best 6 months of his wrestling career, in TNA. I thought he was so uber, and then when he had a chance to re-sign, hearing the rumblings and knowing that WWE was in the mix to working agreement, because they know these things. They didn't really want to re-sign. A little bit her thing. Trent Seven was let go of NXT UK. I know his best friend Tyler Bates is there, but there still could be some certain wrestlers are not flocking to sign with TNA or leaving, like Mike Speedball Bailey, who really doesn't fit the WWE type of mold because they're promo heavy. He's more of a wrestler, puts on one of the greatest matches, but again, he doesn't want to work the WWE style. Maybe whatever case, you see certain wrestlers not retaining and not staying with the company. I knew that was going to head over that kind of direction. They were heading that direction, and that's why I was like, yeah, I can see that, and I put kind of the little detective work on that here, with that. So, here you go. There are so many possibilities. I'd like to see Karrion Kross him. That's gonna happen. That's happening. He kind of teased that I'm busted open Karrion Kross. He kind of teased that. Karrion Kross is gonna have a good 2025, but it's gonna happen after the WrestleMania. He's gonna be this year's version of Liv Morgan. I'm going out on a limb right now. Karrion Kross, how Liv Morgan after WrestleMania. She wasn't even in WrestleMania. I think it's gonna be Karrion Kross. Karrion Kross is gonna get that push after WrestleMania. They're teasing it now, right now. He's getting it, but I think it's gonna be Karrion's time next, coming after WrestleMania. That reset on there. And of course, then we had SmackDown last night. I'm gonna be honest with you, SmackDown was good, but it kind of felt long in the tooth.
Felt long as hell.
That was long. Chef fell asleep.
My God,
and we were fighting. I'm not gonna lie, Chef. I I was with you there. I was like, oh, this is end already. It felt long, but whenever you have whenever you have a tag team match with Naomi and Bianca, I mean, if you don't get your juices flowing there, I don't know what's wrong with you. They did that early though. We seen the tag, we seen them winning.
I was gonna say, but when we
get to see find out.
The Wrestling Observer, they might switch to 2 hours in May or June. So just wanted to throw that out there.
They said no, but here's the thing. I like how these Wrestling Observers and all these places they like to say these things, but Triple H said that in November, even before this has been said already. They're not splitting the atom. They're not giving you breaking news. They're clickbaiting when they say that, because this was said already a while back. In the summertime, they were going to switch to 2 hours because, again, we said it here on the Heel of the Ring podcast. It's summertime. You're going to ask people on a Friday night when you've been cooped up all winter in your home, on a Friday night to give 3 hours to the WWE to sit there where the weather's nice, where you could travel, you could, you don't want to. You're not going to sit there for 3 hours to watch Raw. Yeah. You're going to go out and about, to the beach, the pool. You're not going to be running home to watch 3 hours of wrestling. So it makes sense for them to drop it down to 2 hours and then in the fall return it to 3. They said that already. They've been said that. And they also, something that I mentioned before here, Monday Night Raw should be 2.5 hours. But then at that time, there was no Netflix when I said it. I said, I don't know. And I said, when I said it, I said, because network television is hard to give you 1.5 to 2.5 segments. You either buy a full hour segment or a half hour segment. You don't go an hour and a half hour, an hour 90 minutes. You got to buy. So I'm like, the sweet spot for Raw is 2.5 hours. What did Triple H say? Raw going forward might be 2.5 hours long, which was great. It works because we thought SmackDown was a little too fast, especially on network television. And Raw at 3 hours felt like it was too long. So 2.5 hours with that sweet spot on that. So we saw that saying it there. What do you think of the next? What is next for El Campeón Damien Priest? That's a good one, Tony. Could he be going to because maybe Damien's going to have a little bit of a run and want to get back at his world title, or someone gets in his face like a Logan Paul, because Logan Paul called out Bad Bunny. And I don't think Bad Bunny is going to respond to Logan Paul because there's a lot of animosity outside of the wrestling business. Yes, it's about making money and business-wise, but there's something more beyond friendly culture between Bunny and Priest. Bunny and Logan Paul, they can't. It's political crap. They're not getting along eye to eye. I don't know if WWE commend those fences for them to work together. I don't know if they commend those fences. Yeah, because Logan Paul lives in Puerto Rico, buying land and not paying the right proper taxes, where Bad Bunny is pissed off that they're raping and pillaging the land. There's a lot of politics, and that's just power play. There's even more to that. I'm not. We could be hours for that. Check Rican reaction. My boy Alex Poquito, he'll break that down. That's his for a cup of coffee, and he does a great job on that. By the way, I want to give him that plug, that push. And which you don't need it, but it's always good to keep putting them over. And my point is, I don't know if they work well. What a way of getting that sympathy, going after Damien and attacking and working there. Logan Paul, Damien Priest, something there where which could be match. I don't know because maybe it's going to lead into a Mike Santana, Damien Priest later on. We all want to see that. We all want to see that. WrestleMania, put it this way. So SummerSlam. You give me those two in New York. Because remember, TNA is going to have also Slammiversary in the USB Arena in Long Island. That's why I think Mike Santana wins the TNA World Title. I could see a Damien Priest coming out afterward, like you and me for the TNA World Title at SummerSlam 2-night event. Guys, all this stuff, fantasy booking. I mean, talk about fantasy booking. I know it might be a demographic that might get excited with that. Amazing, but. Yeah, that sounds amazing. You're telling me Selena Vega and Tasha Steele?
Yeah.
You could put it, yeah. And speaking of that, and not only that, There's so many talents in the WWE from Mexico alone. I mean, I was looking at the roster from Mexico, all the Mexican wrestlers and luchadors that they have there. I mean, from Dragon Lee, Penta, the Lolotarios, Santo Escobar, Ray, Dominic, Raquel. Yeah, there's a nice plethora. There's a lot of representation on the roster. Bailey is Mexican. I think she's Mexican.
She's half Mexican.
Mexican or Cubana, one of those.
Her mom's half Mexican.
Yeah, Bailey. Yeah, you got Bailey part of that. That Roxanne Perez when she gets pulled up to the main roster, which she's going to. Another Mexican American in the fold. So they do Backlash in Mexico, which sometimes it started off as wrestle votes, as a spook or as a rib or as a joke. Kind of got traction. You know, maybe you could. You know what? You could smell those things. You don't have to be inside the know. If you watch this product for so long, you see how the trajectory goes. You saw how the people in Mexico and Monterrey, when they do those two shows, they've been cramming and asking for the WWE to return to bring up PLE, and they've been gone to the international markets. And you have a large amount of representation. You'll sell that. You know, even Stephanie Bakur is not Mexican, but she grinded and she did cut her teeth in Mexico. She's gonna be a big attraction if they do the PLE in Mexico. You know, it makes sense to print money for the WWE. Also, you know, different places. You know, I know they're going back to France. They're saying that rumor that Nick Khan said they're going back to France again. If they pay money, they'll go back there. If the money is there now, it feels like the WWE turned into, and I know people are going to get upset, kind of like a FIFA or Olympics, where the countries, cities are going to now pay a fee, because we saw Puerto Rico pay what, $2 million or $4 million to have the WWE Backlash in Puerto Rico.
Yeah,
they paid a lot of they paid millions, and now France, you know, England, where there was rumors England was trying to get WrestleMania over there, pay a lot of money. Saudi.
Remember what was supposed to come? What was supposed to come to? There was a pay-per-view that was supposed to come to Orlando, I think, because I told my brother about this. I don't know what happened. Was it the Royal Rumble last year that they got bid out by Tampa?
Yes. Yeah. And I took heat for that. I took heat for that, by the way. A little heat for because they wanted. Listen, I live in Orlando, Florida, and they were supposed to bring it to Orlando, and I was like, I was the one person. I think I was one of the few people that was opposed to that. Don't bring it to Orlando, and the reason because when the Citrus Bowl is a terrible arena. I watched 2 WrestleManias there. When they both WrestleManias, that stadium sucked.
At Camp Rome.
Okay? Yes, that's when they told you it was either Tampa Trop or I was like, go to Trop.
Yeah,
go to Trop. It's better. It's a better arena. It's better. Its air conditioners closed. It would have been better. For me personally, personal reason, it would have been great. It's right here. To jump on the 408, 10 minutes, I'm there. Went to 2 WrestleManias, but the arena sucked. They've done some upgrades. They've done some. There's no parking there. It's so many different things, guys. It's an inconvenience. It's a uber inconvenience in that arena. Yeah, the event would have been great. That WrestleMania was great, but parking, there's nowhere. You're parking someone's business, giving someone $10 to park his own, but you don't know if you're gonna get towed. I'm telling you from my personal experience.
Yeah,
it wasn't. No, go to a baseball stadium that's indoors. They have the parking and the accommodations. Great. When Orlando does something like that and they can accommodate with parking lot stuff, then bring it here. But if they don't want to put it in the Amway Arena or the TDW, wherever it's called now, TF Center, then it's not going to work. That's just my opinion. It's not going to work. It's just there's no parking, there's no space. They were Ubering, shuttle busing people like the NXT from one place to another. I mean, how it was a disaster. It was a disaster. It wouldn't work. That's my opinion on it. I would like to see Montez Ford go single. Do you think he and Carmelo Hayes will have a hell of a match, Tony?
They would have a great match together.
By now, they will have a hell of a match. That would be a hell of a match. I would like to see that personally. And of course, we'll get into. Let's go right there. Saturday night's main event. We got a couple of matches that are coming up next Saturday. Of course, Braun Breaker taking on Sheamus. I think Sheamus might be the Intercontinental Champion. I love Braun Breaker. Everyone knows me. I'm a Braun Breaker guy. That's my favorite. But I think Sheamus gets that nostalgic Intercontinental title run, and I already know who's going to be his first title defense. John Cena.
Relive that feud.
Relive that feud was a good feud.
Fun fact: I was there when they did that contract signing back in 2010. I was at that Monday Night Raw as a kid. Yeah, but no, I agree. You know, I don't know if chat. Some of you guys know this. I think if I'm wrong or if I'm right, I think the Intercontinental Championship is the only title that Sheamus needs to become a Grand Slam champ.
And Cena too. I don't think Cena's won that. Cena's never won that.
He hasn't won it either. Yeah. So
there you go.
I could see Sheamus winning again. I'm a Braun Breaker fan. You've got the privilege to see Braun Breaker, since his early days in NXT develop who he is now. He's the future. He's a future WrestleMania main eventer. Yep, there it is.
Hi, Braun.
He's a future. he's a future main event. WrestleMania main eventer. So you got time. There's plenty you're gonna do with him this year. I don't see why not. You don't give it to Sheamus. Now, if Braun Breaker retains, completely understand that as the reasons I just said. But either way could go. But I would like to see Sheamus win. It's been a while.
Or here's another: Braun beats Sheamus, and then Sheena wants to try to take a crack at Braun. We're trying to get the Intercontinental title, and I don't think he'll be successful either. But then Braun could get more legitimized. I took two guys that wanted to take this title away from me and couldn't. But I mean, I don't know what WWE Creative is going to do with them. This is the final run for John Cena and Sheamus. Wouldn't mind seeing Sheamus and John go one more time. Be honest with you, give me the hits. There's nothing wrong when you want to go see your favorite. If Aerosmith, you want to hear them play the hits, in the beginning, and of course before they get into the deep tracks and new matchup, the new songs that we have in. You want to open up with one of your favorites. You always want to hear one of them, and so forth when you go to a music concert or anything like that. But I mean, I can't wait for Saturday's main event. Let me ask this question, chat: does Jey Uso win? We know Jey Uso's name has come up with a little controversy during the week, a little IWC gossip, with Jada Parker. Now, this is still a story that's a lot of fuzzy details, all because of a liking of someone else of a tweet that government passed a ban or regulation of collegiate sports athletes where you have to play in your biological sex where you were born with. You have to play in that sport. You cannot be in a transition and play in that other sport if you were born biologically another sex. Where Jada Parker just put thumbs up, agree with it, and IWC exactly went after her with her comments, and then they started looking up videos, or they found a video where there's a young lady who has a tights type of spider web type of black tights thighs, sitting next to Jey Uso, rubbing his legs, very provocative. But then later on, there's another picture later on with the same tights worn by Miss Jada Parker. Now in that video, the tights are being rubbed, or Jay being seduced or whatever, aroused. It doesn't show the face. It's just hands, the legs, the hands rubbing on. And while he's having the conversation, he's in his Jey Uso normal conversation with Joshua. And because he's not Jay, he's not being performing for nobody. He's in his own leisure time. And the picture wasn't meant to record him. The picture was recording Grayson Waller and Indy Hartwell enjoying a shoey celebration in the club. And now it's becoming a controversy where to reset our piece before, we're going to say it again, what Joshua and Tatiana does in their personal life, that's Jada and Jay. It's not our business. It is. It's not our business. We'll respect that, but we'll talk about it because it was brought up. That's all. And we give our thoughts and our opinion. That's their business. That's what they're doing. If they are, who they are with, who they're not with. Of course, Jay's a married man. He has a son. You've seen his bond with his son. You got to be careful when you put rumors or you insinuate things because you don't know the repercussions of our authority of our words, Chris. And I'm going to bring this other one that a lot of people ridiculed, was the one Odyssey Jones Omar. Odyssey Jones was brought up on or has some acquisitions or allegations about some domestic violence and so forth. Now, Omar, aka Odyssey Jones, lives in Orlando, Florida. Whenever there's any charges or anything brought up immediately, you have to wait to go to court. You even if you're innocent, you come out as guilty. If you go to court, if you Google his name, you're being charged until you, and then it gets cleared after you go to court. It comes out that he was cleared. There was nothing wrong. But remember telling people on our own podcast that will do and watch alongs with us that does their own podcast themselves. Hold off. I was told by a good insider from NXT, a good friend. He's innocent, but hold off until the evidence come out, because his name, then you could speak, his name will be clear. And we here in the Heel in the Ring podcast, we did not say anything negative about Omar, aka Odyssey Jones. We wanted to wait until the full facts came out before we gave our opinions, our thoughts, and so forth. And then, as reported, he's the one that's got the order protection injunction against the other party, where he's innocent, where he lost his job in the WWE, career spiraled a little bit out of control to some false accusation there. And now, he's got to get his life together, start from there. Everyone loves a good redemption story. But you got to be careful before you slander or attack said performer, male, female, whatsoever, because you got to make sure you have the full truth. It don't just be. I always tell everybody, be your own islands of relevance. Don't be a parrot. Don't be a copycat, a parrot, because he said it. While he wants a cracker, you go out and repeat it. So I gotta be careful with the copy and paste on any platform, because there's a lot of copy and pasters and they get a lot of shit wrong, or they copy and paste slander. Gotta be careful, man. Just be your own islands of relevancy. If you want to report news or breaking news or something, make sure you have the right information. We're all guilty. We're all guilty of doing it too. We have made mistakes. We have copy and paste mistakes as well. Got to be a little more careful and a little more diligent when we do that.
No, I agree 100%. You took the words right out of my mouth. This type of shit could really, obviously make or break, careers, and we've seen it from the past, right? Never really makes it, always breaks it. So I think we just gotta stay out of these people's business, in my opinion. Obviously, we're talking about it. It's brought up. It's something, hot. But I think you stressed it the best, right? Whatever, Jey Uso and Jada Parker, they're only them every week. They're different people outside of those characters. So whatever they do, state should only be between them. We shouldn't. Us as people who do this shouldn't know about it. Oh, what a spicy question, Tony.
Yes. You want to answer? You go first.
Yeah, will we ever see AEW and WWE collaborating? I feel like they should, for the fans and older wrestlers that want to have their dream matches. It's never going to happen, Tony. Unfortunately, it's never going to happen. There's too much of the. First off, the fans would hate it. Both the diehard WWE and the AEW. It would be good for people who like both, but I don't think it's gonna go well for the fans. The booking. You're gonna tell me you're gonna have Tony Khan, Triple H, Nick Khan, and all these people sit in a room and book these matches, and you're gonna tell me there's gonna be no animosity, no arguing between who goes over and who? Yeah, that's gonna be a big problem. Because Tony Khan's going to want Orange Cassidy to beat Cody Rhodes for the WWE Undisputed Championship. And then it's just going to be a shit. Look, it's something that I would obviously love to see if it could be done right. It can never be done right. It'll never happen. A WWE and AEW collab will never happen. The closest thing we'll ever see to that is if Scott D'Amore pulls some crazy shit and has a WWE wrestler and an AEW wrestler fight in Maple Pro or something like that. That is the closest we will get. And especially with WWE doing this TNA thing. Yeah, never going to happen. Never going to happen, Tony. But I feel you on that one, when it would be cool to see some of the matches. I feel you, brother. But from a business perspective, I can tell you right now, my man, never going to happen. What do you think, Kev?
I'll even expand on that. What if, all right, let's say they do sit down, like you said, the heads of the company, and they agree upon who's going to go over, not go over, and wins and losses. But then here's the other issue you're going to have: talent. They're going to look at their leaders or their head bookers and say, "You have me lose. You compromise and agree to me to go to lose." And at the end of the day, wrestlers going to get paid. They don't care if they go over or not over. But then how they, especially in all elite wrestling, where there's a lot of questioning when it comes to Khan. The wrestlers, like, some of them respect him, some of them don't. Some of them think he's a joke, but they're paying it. They're getting paid. So if he tells them, "Hey, you're going to do the job for, you're going to do the job for Carmelo Hayes here, tonight," and you got a guy that's like, in Brody King, he's gonna get mad at
yeah, no, exactly.
You're really letting me lose to him? He's an NXT.
Mm-hmm.
I'm using that as an example. That's
absolutely.
why it might not work properly. Might not work properly because it's going to be it's going to be a one-off. They're not going to be working. Here they go. So I know you're going to say this question. So what's the difference between TNA and WWE? Because I wanted to bring that, because that's why I said it was going to be a one-off. Here's the big difference. They're going to be working platform for platform, where they're going to make it make sense here. Let me ask this: the WWE, the NXT versus TNA, I didn't feel like TNA got jobbed, or I didn't feel NXT got jobbed. I felt, Wendy Chu lost to Rosemary, where, when and Rosemary turned on her. The Rascals, Zachary Wentz got a victory over Wesley, vice versa. It was something, it actually pushed Zachary Wentz to get that digital media title, although it was a short run, but still, it looked nice to see him with that digital media title, or X Division title. I always get those two confused. That X Division title on NXT television, when Looney crowned, it looked really good for him. Seeing Zachary with a title, it was phenomenal. Seeing that, and it worked. It benefited. Look at what they did to the houses on TNA. The houses now sold out. Where now they're going live. So if it's done correctly, both will benefit, because us as WWE fans or NXT fans want to see TNA wrestling. I know I can tell you from Terrence. I'm going to talk for him. To see Jordan Grace show up like that, for him being in attendance live in the Performance Center, he loved it. It was, seeing me, we got excited to see, because we knew the backstory of Nash Carter, aka Zachary Wentz. Well, he was another one who was falsely accused and got released by Vince McMahon in WWE because of a stupid tweet post of an ex-girlfriend, that claimed that he did an obscene gesture, and he got released. Where in the middle of a tag team, he was a tag team champion with Wesley, and to see him come back and that emotional connection, and they did it right. Those things like that. I think WTNA is going to make it work. I don't know if AEW doesn't have the experience, or the owner doesn't have that experience, or that, not that fear, that professional respect from his talent, because it shows. Yep. It shows. It shows. That's the only issue. And I know, as a fan, you'd rather see a dream match happen or concern who wins or loses. No, because it's scripted, Tony. I agree with you. It's scripted. It doesn't matter who wins or loses. To be honest with you, because I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't quite remember who won between Rock and Hulk Hogan. That was the biggest dream match of all time. I tell me who won. All I remember is that stare down between both of them, and hearing the crowd and the Rock rubbing his eyebrow, soaking it in. That moment, those moments. That's what you remember. Is the moments, the moment, the emotional moment that you went through at that moment, at that time, in your head, is what fans, as your fandom in wrestling, is what captivates you. Not who won and lost. Although I still get mad that the Ultimate Warrior beat Hulk Hogan, but it is what it is.
I agree.
But at the end, it was a moment. It was a moment.
Yeah.
Those are all those things there. No one. The moment when Undertaker and Shawn Michaels took one and on for the last match. So the moment where Ric Flair. No one remember Ric Flair got, but the moment when Shawn Michaels said "I love you" and just super kick, which I was there in attendance. It was, those are moments that you remember, that you call, and that's what. Can they give that moment? Yes. It doesn't matter about wins or losses. Can they deliver a card, a moment where you see, holy shit, that's Kenny Omega on the other side, and then for AEW, and then on the other side of WWE, Seth freaking Rollins. Like, oh damn,
Yeah.
whoa, like, yeah, that's the moment right there. Those are the type of deals that you want to see. You know, like the way we want to see Santana and Damian Priest. To us, it will be a damn moment. Like, oh, yo, there you go, let's go. That's the moment right there. Tasha Steele and Zelina Vega. You know, my goodness, coming out like, ooh, nice representation. You know, things like that. To see Moose and Obafemi, but like, oh, you know, that's where we were. I think that's what you're looking for as well, Tony, when you think about an All Elite Wrestling and a WWE collaboration match there on there. But let's talk about the Rumble here. As we'll be wrapping up soon. Of the Royal Rumble, we had a couple of opportunities. Rey Mysterio, declared last night on SmackDown. He had that match with Kevin Owens. It doesn't look like Kevin Owens will be in the Rumble, but I wouldn't be surprised if he wrecks and show up wrecking stuff out at the Rumble. We also found out that Shawn Michaels will be the contract signing for the ladder match between Cody Rhodes, and actually it's going to be a ladder match with the title suspended in the air between Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens. Throwback to WrestleMania 10 between Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon for the 2 Intercontinental titles to unify it. I like that. I love that they're making us now putting Shawn Michaels next week to see that there. MJF and Punk was the greatest storyline for me. Absolutely. Because they made it sense. Punk Matt made it personal. He made it realistic. When I mean personal, he made it realistic because he showed the picture of him being that uber young kid wanting to see CM Punk in an autograph signing and looked up to him. And he met his heroes, and he wasn't, you know, we could all relate to something like that. Like wanting to meet your fave, and your favorites and turn out to be the person you thought it was. Like, ooh, oh, he smoked. I was a kid. I grew up. I don't like any smoke, or whatever. And you feel that they never meet your heroes, they say, and then when you meet them and you're disappointed, and now you want to beat them or he slighted you. If we all identify, that's why storylines kind of work, because if we could go where you could identify and some realism, or you could put yourself in that shoes, it just checks the box. Remember, wrestling is an escape. Wrestling is an escape from everyday stuff. You escape to get entertained with wrestlers in a combat sport with stories to entertain us. So that's why I think a lot of people get upset with All Elite Wrestling for just becoming nonstop, spot fest instead of telling some stories. Because okay, we like the spot fest, but we want to get it. We want to think a little bit, or we want to play a little detective, or what if, or the Purpose Circus Act, because we want to kind of forget about my mortgage is due in 2 weeks, or I'm behind in my light bill, or my credit card bill is up, or my refrigerator is half empty. I just want to know about, who is the one that attacked Jade Cargill in the back, just that little momentarily escape from reality with that wrestling gives you. And I think that's what people get upset with All Elite Wrestling for not delivering it, because they know they could deliver in the ring, but it's just that's the one caveat that's missing, and I can't wait. Hopefully they get that fixed in 2025. I mean, again, we went on it when we talked about Wednesday, and I know tonight is Collision, right? Maximum Collision.
I forgot all about
that's a show that's struggling to keep viewership. That was a terrible mistake putting it at 8 o'clock on Saturdays.
Mm-hmm.
That should be a 6:05 CBS, whatever the case is. Again, not taking the temperature, not knowing your what's up. 6:05 on a Saturday. Before they used to do that with World Champion or World Class, WCW, all that stuff. They should take a little bit of that from it. Also, what's going on with this one more thing with the Grand Slam? It was, to me, he was told it was supposed to be a pay-per-view that was supposed to be a stadium pay-per-view in Australia. Then it got downgraded into a smaller venue. Now it's not even a pay-per-view. It's going to be a tape.
So Grand Slam was never a pay-per-view. Grand Slam has always been a Dynamite special. They planned to have it in the stadium. They sold stadium tickets. Unfortunately, nobody bought tickets to go to the stadium. They would have had the show half empty. in a stadium like they already do now, but it would have looked really bad. So they moved it inside to a small ass arena.
That's it. That's pretty much it. And Grand Slam is always in Arthur Ashe Stadium. It's a small venue. It's always a
years.
It's a dynamite. It's like like the Mistake in the Lake. The one that's coming up, Maximum Garbage. What's the other one? What's that? Bubble Guts. The one that they have with the cages.
Blood and Guts.
Bubble Guts, yeah.
Oh yeah,
yeah. They're having a hard time selling tickets. I think even the TV show went to small. Yeah, but it's nothing wrong. You know what, Tony? It's not really. And Chris, it's not nothing wrong for them going into a smaller venue.
No, not at all. It looks better on TV.
I'm gonna tell you one thing. Hammerstein looked dope. It looked nice.
Yeah.
The Hammerstein for them for seeing the views on on X and seeing the clips, it looked great. I'm gonna be honest with you. I was like, oh, okay, look at them doing that. All right. It's not the biggest thing. It's not, but it looks nice. The toilet paper serenading for Ricochet looks nice. All right. It didn't look bad. World's End in Orlando did a phenomenal job, and that's a pretty not that big of arena, about 7,000 people there. It holds for the UCF Golden Knights basketball team. It's not a big arena, but it looked good on TV as well on the pay-per-view that time. It's smart for them to do the smaller venues. Once the tickets start getting popular, when they start selling out the whole thing in a day or two, then you start looking for a bigger venue. Yep. Don't go with a bigger venue and then hoping to sell, and then you look like a fool moving to a smaller one, which that Texas All In, it might be being moved. There's rumors that they might move.
I didn't hear anything about that.
There was some rumors. There's some rumors. Ticket sale is not moving the way they thought, even though they came out with that pump in circumstances. And
they did a little press conference outside, and they even had like Bryan Danielson and I think 200 people showed up.
And why not advertise that? Why not advertise that on YouTube or do it live the way WWE does it? Again, you say you want to be an alternative, but meanwhile you copying and pasting WCW and WWE. You're copying and pasting everything, which is nothing wrong to take a little bit of something from your past, a little bit, and just make it your own in your own gumbo, your own recipe. Look, everybody cooks hamburgers. Not everybody makes the same hamburger as McDonald's. That's plain and simple. Everybody wants to, So, and again, it's all right for AEW to try to do their own, make their own burger as well. But try something, but use a little bit. You know what? There's still salt and pepper. You could use a little salt and pepper. Use your digital media platform, your AEW YouTube page. You should have went live and shown that, even if it's 200 people. But you're live. Guess what? Next time you do it again, we're going to be live. Join us for the YouTube party, the launch party for so and so. People will show up. Oh, and they those things. It's just those little details. Again, they got people that hired for that they used to do this on the other side as a content creator. Why are you not pitching these ideas? Or do they have production meetings? Do they listen to people's ideas? What's going on? They keep making the same mistake. They're like in a hamster wheel of turd, going all in circle, but the turd keeps going around. What's going? Do something. You're spinning your wheels, doing nothing. Try something different. Listen. It's simple. Sometimes simplicity, it's logic, common sense. I mean, I don't get it. It's like it's a tough one. They're having a hard time selling tickets. I think is they don't even the shows went smaller to smaller venues. Yeah, they went to smaller venues. I don't. And meanwhile, WWE continues to grow. Even NXT now, they're going live next Tuesday from Atlanta. They're going on the road. Where it's like, oh, that's a developmental. But guess what? Developmental people are going to show out. But here's the thing they do: they're not doing it all the time. They're not forcing it. They're not going city to city where people's like, I don't watch this NXT. Certain they're still part of the country that don't feel NXT. So will be interesting to see how that goes with that there. But let me ask this: who is your favorite to win the Rumble, Chris? Let's talk about Rumble. Who is going to point the sign?
Man, that's such a tough question considering how stacked
it is.
So many scenarios this Rumble could play out. maybe John Cena.
Wouldn't go wrong with that. And who's he
Because
challenging? Who's he
my-
challenging? Is it Cody
Yeah.
or is it the winner of Gunther and Jey Uso?
I think Cody, because, or I know a lot of people want Jey or Gunther. I know a lot of people want him and Gunther, either or. But the reason why I say John Cena is this: CM Punk. There's nothing that, I think ultimately, unless Seth Rollins somehow gets a championship, CM Punk ain't gonna win it. CM Punk has nothing that, because I think Rollins and Punk are gonna fight at WrestleMania this year, despite them already having the Netflix match. I think they're gonna have it again at WrestleMania. So I don't see Punk winning the Rumble because Rollins isn't a champion. There's nothing obviously for there. Roman, I mean, no one wants to see a Roman and Cody part 3. I'm sorry. And I just don't see anyone else that could, what they could do with Cena. He could have a match with either Cody or Gunther because the IWC clearly wants it, and he can break Ric Flair's record. Have one more title run before he retires. I mean, people might say, oh, well, why would he just win the Rumble to have a few month title reign? Okay, then we got to see who else, who's hot before the Rumble, because right now Cena's hot before the Rumble.
Okay.
I don't know. It's really interesting. It's hard. It's a hard Rumble this year because there's a lot of big names. They're not champions anymore. They're all in it.
It is. It is a hard one because first and foremost, this is like a to be continued question. Heal the Ring podcast guys, to all our viewers. This is to be continued due to the fact we don't know what's going to happen with creative on Monday night. Just Monday night, Sunday night. With Monday night SmackDown and with Saturday night's main event. Because personally, I could see in a world where I could see Jey Uso become the world heavyweight champion and beating Gunther, and then I could see Roman Reigns wanting to challenge his cousin for that world title. And remember, Sami Zayn brought it up to Roman. You never apologized to Jey. He never really did apologize. They got on the same page to wrestle at the War Games, but that apology never came. Well, let's say the first night on Raw, where Jey Uso is the world heavyweight champion, let's say after the Royal Rumble, because Roman didn't get a chance to win the Rumble, or let's say he does whatever the case was, and he comes in and he's in the ring, and Roman, instead of acknowledging him, says, Roman gets the microphone, says, "I never apologized. You said I never apologized." And then instead of saying, you think he's gonna apologize, and he whacks him and he hits Jey Uso because he wants a world title shot for Roman and Jey going forward. And then you never, you're off. You got a WrestleMania match right there. And then if Cody, you don't have to involve Cody. Cody, if it's going to be Cena, where Cody and Cena, if Cena wins the Rumble, then it's gonna be Cody and Cena for that title. Gunther is being what happens with Gunther next? Nothing. He's gonna probably get in that nostalgic match with Goldberg. Goldberg wants that last run, and they had a little bit of a heat back then, and rumors reports that Goldberg is returning for one more match. You could have that up and running. Kevin Owens and Randy Orton is another match at WrestleMania. Randy should be coming back from the injury, probably at the Rumble, to get that going as well, that program. Again, what's happened, I know Tony asked about Damian Priest. Where does Damian Priest go next? That's the question one I don't know, really. That one got me stumped because you can't go Finn. And where does Finn go? With Finn looks like it's going to be a Dominic Mysterio type of thing. I think Dominic is going to go on a babyface run here, where I think Finn and Dominic is going to be the battle between these two, because I think we're going to finally find out what did Finn do with that room, that key for that hotel room at that time that he took. Yeah. To me, I think him and Liv been pulling the strings backstage. They're really the couple, and then they're gonna go with there, and that's gonna have that there where we're gonna see the babyface run for Dominic Mysterio going forward. It'll be interesting to see on that. I think that's somewhere they go with that. We'll see. This is just us speculating, hypotheticals, and going back and forth. Here's the one I was gonna. Tony, you, me, and you on the same ESP. What does Punk favor for Heyman comes at the Rumble? That's where I was going to get into. Remember how I say Roman might not win the Rumble and it's going to be Cena? I think when it's Roman Reigns' time to go into the Rumble, that's why I think Ethan Page makes sense of eliminating Punk, and then Punk and Heyman. I mean, Punk is so pissed off that he asks Heyman to take Roman's spot at the Rumble for a second of opportunity to enter. That's why, again, if we could talk about all the storylines that you have there, because Ethan Page still has a receipt for when he got eliminated in Chicago, when he lost in Chicago to Trick Williams. So Ethan comes in around 17th, 19th, whatever. Punk is in already, whatever, or Punk comes in after 22. Then he gets in, and Punk, probably eliminates Seth Rollins because there's a little bit. But then Ethan throws him over, and then Ethan talks shit and says about, that's for my NXT World Title, and boom, Ethan super kick, and Punk is so upset they go to the back. And then there's a little quick there, and there's a little bit of where Punk tells Heyman, you owe me a favor. I want that number 29. Let's say Roman draws 29. He takes that 29 for 30. Yeah, I mean, and yeah. There's so much booking there, so many storylines there. But then what does that do with The Rock? If The Rock is going to be in the Rumble, but if The Rock isn't, I would personally like to see that. But if The Rock is in this, who knows what the hell happens? We could be talking this for nothing. So it is so great because talk to me about a Rumble that has Rock, Punk, Cena. Mm-hmm. I mean, Rollins, McIntyre. The possibility of seeing TNA, Joe Henry, Moose. I mean, just think about that. Trick Williams, Ethan Page. The list continues, and who knows who else? Malachi might make a return there. Penta, who comes into the Royal Rumble looking all hot and exciting. Andrade, when Andrade and him get in the ring together, somehow in the Rumble is going to be a part where them two are going to be alone to do their 90 seconds of just action them alone. The ring will be cleared out. Someone Andrade and it's going to be Penta and Andrade. Yeah, they're going to have a one-on-one at the Rumble. AJ Styles. I mean, my God, Tony, keep it coming. AJ Styles should be returning from injury. And that's the male. Just think about those names in there. Just think about that with Styles. I mean, dude, this WWE is stacked and they have a lot of great wrestlers. I mean, just think of the Rumble with that. It's just great.
Same with the women.
Possibilities for the Rumble. And now let's go to the women. Let's go right to the women. I think this Monday night, Asuka returns to Raw. I think Asuka. They're teasing a 6-woman tag. They only show 5 women in the graphic. They didn't put a mystery. They just put 5. They say 6. They say 6-woman tag. I think Asuka returns to Diamond.
Mine's a little tougher because that's why it has to be more than 30. Yeah, well, maybe next year, Tony, we're eventually, like Kev said earlier, we're going to get the 2 nights of Royal Rumble. It's coming. And that's when I think you could do that. But as far as the women, it's interesting because now we saw the Charlotte Flair vignette. You have a really good observation about Asuka, Becky. There's still a lot to be done. Rhea's most likely going to be the champion, and Tiffany. So it's just going to be about who do they feel like could have a better match with like a champion? Because I feel like ultimately, whoever wins the Rumble will pick Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley's the bigger star. She's the bigger name, especially if like a Charlotte Flair wins. My opinion, one of the best WrestleMania women's matches recently, Charlotte and Rhea at WrestleMania 39. Phenomenal.
Yeah, very good match.
So they could definitely run that back. They could run, Becky and Rhea last year, their match had some ups, right? Becky had a 102-degree fever and still went out there. Rhea Ripley had an anxiety attack because her favorite band, my favorite band, they're from right up the street, 2 hours away. They did a performance and sang her out to the ring. So they could run that back, possibly. Who knows? But I think my Royal Rumble winner, I don't want to just throw like a Charlotte, but I hate that they might do this, and it's going to piss a lot of people off. I could see them giving it to Becky. I could see them having Becky come back at like number 20 something and have her win it.
Okay.
I don't
I
want
think
that.
Charlie wins.
Right now with the women, I'm lost. Like the men, we see all these freaking talent. We see all these possible storylines. For the women, I'm a little lost on it, and I'll tell you why real quick. Because on the women's side, it's clearly been Rhea and Liv on Raw. Now they had the mid-card title, right? And then on SmackDown, it's Bayley, Nia, Tiffany. I mean, we've kind of, besides those women right now and all those big stars that I just named, Asuka, Charlotte, Becky, without them being there, with now them having a women's secondary title, Kev, I don't know. I can't tell you a woman right now that's hot that I can be like, she's winning the Rumble. Because Rhea Ripley already has a damn championship. So with the women, I'm stuck. I can't give you a Royal Rumble prediction right now, other than maybe them having a Becky come back and win it. I don't know.
My thought is kind of not like yours, but along those lines, I can't give you a women's Royal Rumble winner. It's hard to pick one because when you know that the men is going to be main eventing night 1 and night 2, and you want to put your best top card for those nights for main event. So it's easy to kind of predict who might win the Rumble due to the fact on who is the biggest main event for WrestleMania that draws money. Now, when it comes to the women, they have no problem making them either co-main event or the third match between on the top of the card, or we even seen it opening contest. So it'll be interesting to see where they go with that on who they win. Right now, everybody wants to see Charlotte Flair versus Tiffany Stratton. Now, Tiffany versus Charlotte, that's a match that people want to see. They want to see it. If she wins the Rumble, she's going to go after Tiffany because for her, that'll be she's already been there, done that with Rhea, and maybe she wants to get Tiffany new blood, and she wants to show her that she's, also chasing her father's record for the most world titles in professional wrestling, not just WWE, because John Cena established that. John Cena is the most winningest WWE world champion at 16 times, but the professional wrestling landscape is 17. So Charlotte might be on that same run as well, on that trajectory to run and get that title. AJ Lee might be a surprise, Tony. That's a great one because can we see a mixed tag match with AJ Lee, Becky Lynch, and Stephen Punk? Which has been rumored. The rumors out there with the IWC putting that together. I mean, everything can happen. AJ Lee, you're bringing AJ Lee back. You got Roxanne Perez, who used to look up to her. That's another storyline. Cora Jade, if she wants to. AJ Lee comes back to NXT for a little bit, whatever the case. Bayley, there's so many great possibilities for the women. Like you said, the mid-card title, you don't have to log. You're giving these women a lot of different hope if they're not winning the Rumble because there's still that mid-card title where it's so great. Does Chelsea have a chance, or Jade? Maybe Jade wins the Rumble. It's time for Jade to win because she's been practicing. Not for nothing. Maybe that's why she's been. That's why she's been ran off TV for a little bit with that storyline of injury because they're preparing her how to be a Royal Rumble winner, look impressive, and preparing her to go out there and because what's the best place to simulate a Royal Rumble match of spots is at the Performance Center because you have a lot of NXT wrestlers, a lot of NIL wrestlers where you could practice with Jade how to come out there for the Rumble, how to eliminate women or certain spots, and then she's preparing herself to look like a glamazon in a Royal Rumble match, and Jade going and let's say she enters at number 1 and she takes and she wins the Rumble all 30, and because she's been practicing it and building that stamina in the Performance Center, ain't no one gonna deny that Jade should be at the WrestleMania because she was one and she the first woman ever to be at 1, I believe, and win the Rumble. Just think about that and all the hype that will have. Can she fulfill and win? And then she could go after whoever attacked her. You still got another pay-per-view in between. You still have Elimination Chamber. She could have that match whoever attacked her and go after her. But she wins the Rumble. I mean, I can see Jay winning the Rumble. You know what? I think Tony, you convinced me. You convinced me. You twisted my arm, and I'm taking Jade with you. I'm going with you. I think Jade wins the Rumble. I think Jade Cargill wins the Royal Rumble. That's a good one. I like it because it makes sense her being in Performance Center for so long. She went on vacation and then she's in the Performance Center working. Why? because they're preparing her how to wrestle or look like a monster in a Royal Rumble in a scenario where she's going to wrestle different people from all different angles, how to eliminate them, how to make sure none of the ladies get hurt by her in spots for elimination with the clothesline or maybe a power slam out. I mean, or power lift and throw out. You know, all those different things, and they're preparing her, they're teaching her, and they're getting her ready and look like $1,000,000 when they do that on the Rumble. So there is no second guessing or buyer's remorse putting her at the main event for WrestleMania. Why not? I mean, they brought her in here to showcase her as a megastar. Now 2025, you got a year in the company. You've been tag team champions around the world. The world have seen you from France to Saudi Arabia to Japan and back. You know, and now it's time to put Jade on that big pedestal of the main platform for her. So maybe it is. Maybe that's where we see a Jade Cargill. I can see that. That's pretty good stuff. Good stuff there. That's really good stuff there. I like that. And of course, and then we'll see how it goes from there. And then, well, for that, we're gonna say thank you here for this week in wrestling here. This was great. We really appreciate everyone. This was
our conversation.
Awesome one. I'm glad you got in the ring with us here to talk a little bit wrestling with us this afternoon with us with me and Chris. Don't forget, tomorrow we are going to stream in the Playback TV. Playback TV, you go to Wrestling Heel of the Ring, you see it scrolling underneath there. We are able to watch with us Genesis. Yep. Not just see us and see Mark Hamill in the back or Luke Skywalker and Roberto, you know, the Puerto Rican wrestlers, Roberto Clemente in the back. No, you're going to see the wrestling. And we're going to be in a little corner. We're going to be in a, you know, you see my videos on X. You see my videos on X. We're going to be in a little corner like this, and you're going to have the wrestling, and you get to see the match. You're going to hear it. You're going to hear, and you're going to see the stuff. But all you got to do is come in, and either you want to be a member. It's free. You're not paying anything. It's free. You know, it's free to join. All you got to do is just we would love you to join us because it shows us our subscription go up. We tell Playback, hey, I've got a community, of course, that supports us, that watch along with us. Yep. And they're going to keep, we stay on that platform. Not anyone could be on that platform. So we are privileged to have that through the NBA, through the basketball that we do on this channel. So we want you to come in and let's tell the Playback, you know what? Wrestling is a force too. So we need you. If you like wrestling, come on to the Playback. Even if you give us a subscription to subscribe, you could go now. So you get the notification when we hit the live button. Hit it there. So you know when we go live, you join us and continue to help us grow. We need to grow. We ask you, please help us grow. We are all that. We're not asking for no super chats. We're not asking to give us money. We're not, because right now times are tough. We could use a donation. Anyone who wouldn't, but we're not here pushing that. All we want is your subscription. All you want you guys to join us, subscribe to us, or remember, whatever you want to call it. And we want you to definitely be part of our channel. Bro, look, Tony's a part of my basketball channel and my wrestling, so he's double dipping. I appreciate Tony. Tony, thanks. Thank you. I appreciate you. Let's go, Joe Henry. You got it, brother. You got it, Tony. Yeah, he watches all my basketball games and the wrestling too. So shout out, Tony. I appreciate Tony and
communicating and having a conversation. Appreciate you. You got some good thoughts there.
Yes. And everyone else. So please join us. We'll see you tomorrow night. Definitely, we're ready to go. Let's go. We want to find out if you believe in Joe Henry. We want to know where you watch from us, from London, from Tokyo, from Mexico. We want to know if you believe. But if you believe in Joe Henry, that's good. But we want you to believe in the Sports JEDI Heel the Ring podcast.
Yep.
So with that said, have a good afternoon.